Right now, if something goes wrong with your body, there is a system. You call a number, people arrive in a vehicle full of equipment. They take you somewhere clean and bright, and someone who has trained for a decade puts you to sleep, and you wake up and it's handled. You don't think about it. You've never had to. Now take all of that away. It's July 1916, and you are 26 years old, and you are standing in a canvas tent 8 kilometers behind the front line at the Somme. You qualified 14 months ago. Before this, the worst thing you had ever treated was a broken arm. Outside the tent, someone is unloading the first ambulance of the day. There are going to be 600 more. Here's what nobody tells you before you get here. You did not come to save lives. You came to sort them. The ambulances arrive faster than you can work. Always. All day. Without a gap. And within the first hour, you learn the only rule that matters in this tent, which is that you cannot treat the man in front of you. You can only treat the men you choose. They call it triage. It's a French word and it just means sorting. And the system is brutally simple. Every man who comes through that flap goes into one of 3 groups. The first group will live whether you help them or not. Shrapnel in the arm. A clean wound through the shoulder. They're screaming and they're frightened and they will be absolutely fine. And you walk past them. The third group will die whatever you do. Abdominal wounds. Massive blood loss. Head injuries where you can see what you shouldn't be able to see. You walk past them too. And the second group, the only group you're actually here for, are the men who will die if you don't get to them and live if you do. Your entire job is to look at a man, decide which of those 3 he is, and be right in about 11 seconds. Be wrong in one direction, and you spend 2 hours on someone who was never going to survive, while 3 men who could have lived bleed out on the ground outside waiting for you. Be wrong in the other direction, and you walk past someone who could have been saved. You will be wrong both ways today. You will not find out which ones. So you start. You have no antibiotics. Penicillin will not exist for another 12 years. Every single wound in this tent will become infected, not might will, because the soil of northern France has been farmed and manured for 1,000 years, and it is saturated with bacteria, and every piece of shrapnel drives filthy uniform fabric deep into the muscle along with it. The one you're watching for is gas gangrene. You'll smell it before you see it, a sweet, rotten smell that gets into your clothes and stays there. The tissue turns black. It spreads along the limb faster than you'd believe possible. Hours, not days. And when it reaches the body, it kills. There is exactly one treatment. You cut the limb off above it, and you hope you got ahead of it. You will do this 11 times today, on men who are awake enough to know what's happening. You will explain it in about 4 sentences, because there isn't time for more, and most of them will say yes, and some of them will beg you not to, and you'll do it anyway. Your anesthetist is 19 and learned the job in 6 weeks. She holds a wire mask over the man's face and drips chloroform onto the gauze, and the entire science of it is watching his eyes and counting his breathing. Too little, and he wakes up mid-operation. Too much, and his heart stops on your table, and there is nothing you can do about it. And it happens, and it will happen to you today. There's no blood transfusion worth the name. There's no x-ray in this tent. To find shrapnel, you put your finger in the wound and feel for it. And you are operating by daylight through canvas. And when the light goes, by a hurricane lamp somebody holds over your shoulder. It's been 14 hours. You have stopped being able to see faces. This is real, and it happens to almost everyone who does this work. After enough hours, the men stop arriving as people and start arriving as problems. A left leg, an abdomen, a chest. It's the only way your brain can keep going at this speed, and you'll be ashamed of it later. Around hour 16, a boy comes in who is obviously group 3, stomach wound, and he's white, and you know exactly how this goes. And you have a decision that isn't medical at all. You can spend 90 seconds with him, a shot of morphine, move him somewhere quieter, tell him he's going to be all right. Or you can spend those 90 seconds on the man behind him, who might live. Every surgeon in every war has stood exactly where you're standing. Most of them take the 90 seconds. Then they go back to work. By the end, you've been operating for something like 20 hours, and you genuinely cannot remember the last 5. Your hands have stopped shaking, which is worse than when they were shaking. And here's the part that stays with you. You'll never learn what happened to any of them. They leave your tent, and they vanish from your life completely. But something else happens in these tents, and it's the reason any of this is worth telling. Medicine changes here. permanently and forever, because you and thousands like you are handling more trauma in 4 years than the entire profession saw in the previous century, and you're learning at a speed nobody has ever learned at. You work out that if you cut away all the dead tissue around a wound and leave it open instead of stitching it closed, infection rates collapse. That's debridement, and it's still standard practice today. You work out that speed matters more than anything, that there's a window, and if you get a man onto a table inside it, he lives, and outside it, he doesn't. That's the golden hour, and it's why an air ambulance exists. The blood transfusion is solved during this war. Under this pressure, reconstructive facial surgery is invented from nothing by men rebuilding jaws that shrapnel took off. The triage system you're running in this tent is the same system running in every emergency room on Earth right now. Every one of those things was paid for by somebody on your table. You're 26. You have another 140 days of this, and then another 2 years after that. And in about 60 years, someone will be lying in a clean, bright room with a machine breathing for them. And they will live because of something a very tired man in a tent in France worked out at 3 in the morning while the guns were still going. They will never know your name. You never learn theirs either.